che pande lame shab solvade Om A Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munishas Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om A Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munishas Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sanekar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Dagi Jetsun Lama Tuje Che Nyamda Dala Tuje Sikso So Gebe Shesan Dala Tendo So Oyon Sunge Nawa Tsedo So Seji Ningne Solwa Debe Tse Dechen Korlo Visu Lekshune Yila Sambe Dede Malupa Geme Lungi Drupra Chingelo Soni Sodan Dikdun Shabe Tse Dungi Namke Yinsu Lekshune Lapchen Tsoni Yonso Zopa Dan Chera Nyedun Chanra Chingelo Chancho Pargi Ninsen Tukun Tu Niu Peme Siudro Lekshune Chanchu Drube Gegen Kunshi Shi Tungen de la Drubra Chingelo Dagi Lona Chela Chokpa Dan Chumin Samjur Ngemba Shiwa Dan Chedan Tumbe Dede Malupa Beme Lungi Drubra Chingelo Dorna Tingne Tsera Tamche Dan Techi Pardo Nekab Tamche Tu Rese Kemne Lama Keleme Tukche Chingi Dala Sikso Sol Gongyab Drewe Nyamda Dachala Chetsun Lame Tuche Rab Gongne Kodan Sunge Nawa Dralme Tu Nyamsu Nyongwe Kesan Toprasho Kewa Kundu Yanda Lama Dan Rame Cheki Pela Longchechi Sadan Lamge Yende Dorje Change Kopa Nyur Tobe Sho Pakyuke Kudan Dagi Alu Pakyuke Sundan Dagi Nga Pakyuke Tukdan Dagi Yi Ten Yerme Chiktu Chingi Alu Makyuke Kudan Dagi Alu Ma kyuke sundan dagi nga, ma kyuke tukdan dagi yi, ten yerme chiktu chingi Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni So Sakyamunye Svoha Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha. Sediamo con la schiena dritta.
We sit with our back straight but not tense. Our shoulders are relaxed.
La testa
Our head is slightly forward. Hands either are resting on the knees or in the mudra of meditative concentration, with the thumbs touching around the height of the navel. Our head is slightly forward, mouth is relaxed, with the tongue resting, touching the palate with the point of the tongue that is positioned upwards, resting on the palate. Our eyes are slightly closed, looking downwards.
ci permettiamo di essere
We allow ourselves to be present in the present moment. We bring our mind where the body is. We observe our own breathing.
osserviamo il movimento del corpo.
We observe the movement of the body as we breathe.
Se sentiamo
If we feel any tension, we try to relax the place where we feel the tension. So as we breathe in, we bring the tension where the part that is tense is, and when we breathe out, we relax that part. We don't force the breathing, we simply observe it. We observe the body, the movement of the belly as we breathe, of the chest.
osserviamo la sensazione alle narici.
We observe the sensation at the nostrils as we breathe.
Sciogliamo le tensioni delle spalle.
We loosen the tensions of the shoulders, of the chest, of the abdomen. We loosen the tensions in the face, of the neck, and every other part of the body until getting to the feet, the hands.
Osserviamo la sensazione.
We observe the sensation at our nostrils of the air coming in and going out. The temperature of the air. We bring our attention on our own breathing and inside of ourselves. It's as if the rest of the world around us, bit by bit, disappeared. We observe the air coming in, the movement of the body as the air goes in, the sensations. Then we observe the air going out of the nostrils, the sensation at the nostrils, the movement of the abdomen. We feel that as we breathe with the whole body. With gentleness, we bring our breathing to an abdominal breathing. We breathe in, we swell the belly slightly. And we breathe out with no rush. And then we breathe in with calmness. And when we breathe out, we empty all the air that is possible until the abdomen contracts slightly. So breathe in and breathe out. With gentleness, we breathe in a bit more than usual and we breathe out slower than usual, forcing ourselves slightly beyond the comfort zone, but just slightly. There is no need to force a lot, to put much effort in it, but to breathe with awareness. So I breathe in, bringing the air below the belly, and breathe out until the abdomen contracts. As we breathe in a continuous flow, other than feeling the abdomen, we continue breathing in, feeling also the chest until a slight, almost imperceptible sensation of lifting up the shoulders. And as we breathe out, we empty first the upper part of the chest, and then lastly we empty the lower part of the abdomen. In a continuous breathing, and we empty the air from up to down. So I breathe in from bottom up, and I breathe out from top to down. Breathe in. And breathe out. We breathe in, counting to 4, and breathe out, counting to 4. With gentleness, we breathe in, counting to 4, and breathe out, counting to 6. Breathe in 4. Breathe out 6. With gentleness, we extend our breathing. So I breathe in with 4, breathe out with 8. If that wasn't comfortable, then we stick with 6 or 4. So ideally, we breathe in with 4 and breathe out with 8. Breathe in 4. Breathe out 8. Breathe in 4. Breathe out 8. We create space between the in-breath and the out-breath, and the out-breath and the in-breath. So I breathe in with 4, hold with 4, breathe out with 8, and hold with 2. So breathe in 4, hold 4, breathe out 8, hold 2, breathe in 4. With gentleness we expand it further, so we breathe in with 4, hold with 6, breathe out with 8, and hold with 3. Breathe in 4, hold 6, breathe out 8, and hold 3. Now we breathe in with 4, hold with 8, breathe out with 8, and hold with 4. For those for which this is not comfortable, then we stay with the numbers with which we are comfortable. So I breathe in with 4, hold with 8, breathe out with 8, and hold 4. Breathe in.
Inspiriamo, tratteniamo.
We breathe in, we hold, we breathe out, and hold the air. Without having to count anymore, but with no rush. We breathe out. We breathe in slowly. The air fills the belly, the chest. We hold calmly, bringing the air and the energy below the navel. And we breathe out with calmness. Holding. And then we go back to breathing in. We keep the awareness on the breathing. And as we keep the awareness of ourselves, of our own breathing, we bring back our attention that doesn't go out of ourselves but includes the world around us. So we maintain the breathing with 4 phases, and then slowly we open our eyes and move our hands.
Shipe ki cho shi me to tamare rabaling shi ni de gem pa di sangye shintu mikte ulwarki drokunamda shingla Chopar Shoyidam Guru Ratna Mindrala Kam Niryatayami Sangye Chedan Tsoge Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Drupar Sho Sangye Chedan Tsoge Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Drupar Sho Sangye Chedan Tsoge Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Druparashon.
In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I obtain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Namo yal haye ke dan ludan jin ke rubunda da mi ke nam dam drowa kunge tanam chit sampa tham che ke to dagi cheten to.
Good morning.
Nella tradizione
In the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, one of the things that it's there a lot, it's like lists. There is even, I can read this small book, more than one version of this book with all the lists. The Four Noble Truths, the Four Seals, this and that. There are all the different lists and then what's inside that. And inside of this, there are three groups of three that are really important. When we ask ourselves, but what is the way to practice the Dharma and to follow the spiritual path? I want to take this path. How do I do it? And so on. There is this set of three that say a lot, that are Shilam Dresum, there is this Sum at the end. Sum means three.
Ta, Che, Gom, Sum, Te, Sam, Gom, Sum. Okay? Perché quando si
Because when there are lists in Tibetan, at the end, when we say, okay, what part is it, then we put also the number. And this is to say, okay, the list is complete. It's a way to say, okay, if that cycle is made of 4, that list is made of 4, then we put the number at the end. So we start. The first is Shilan Dresum. These three things that we will now look at are about actually anything that we want to do. It's not just about the Dharma path. It's a method that is very clear to face anything from the point of view of the physical part or the diet, or how from a working point of view or economical point of view, also the enlightenment path. And this also reminds me once that I was invited in the Netherlands to talk. In those days I was invited in various contexts. There were some schools and there was an organization that was giving the education and the part of training to the teachers. And they asked me what would be the approach inside of Buddhism for teaching. And as I was reflecting at that time, I was reflecting on these aspects, these three aspects. The first part, Tibetan is a language that where most of the words can be said only with one syllable. So Shi means basis. Shi means also ground, where you have to be the house, the foundations. Lam, the path. Dre, result, fruit. So we have the basis, the path, and the result. The basis is about the reality where we find ourselves. We can make any example. If I have to make a drawing, at the basis what do we have? The paper and the pencils. So I have like three colors maybe, and a white paper of a certain size. That is part of the resources that I have. So that's the basis. And it's very important, the part of the basis, because it's about recognizing what are the resources available here and now. Starting from the fact that we shouldn't base ourselves on things that don't exist. We should base ourselves on what exists, what is our potential. It's pointless to say, yes, but I could make a better drawing if I had 5 colors. Yes, but I have only 3, and they are those 3. But if it was something else, would have been better. But it's just those. So first of all, we should understand what do we have, what is there at the basis. So this is the basis. And even if the path is made out of the basis, the path, and the result, the initial approach is basis, result, and path, because I I look at what I have, I recognize the resources available in the present moment. I allow myself to dream and imagine, okay, with these resources, what can I do? What can they become? So I go in the kitchen, I see what's there. What do I have? I have 4 courgette. Here we always have courgette in Italy. We have 2 aubergine, a tomato, some onion. What else do I have? There is no salt. Okay, this is what I have. And with this that I have, I allow myself to dream. What can I realize out of what it's there? And this is one of the most important points, because it's our capacity of really being able to create with imagination, starting from the resources that are there in the present moment. So, with this paper that I have and these 3 colors, what kind of drawing can I make? With these vegetables, ingredients, what meal can I cook? So the important thing is, with the basis that I have, where can I get to? And that is called the result. Once we have clarity on the basis, about the basis and about the result, then after that we have to take the path. So what I have to do to bring the resources that I have, that basis, to become that result. It's very coherent, right? It's not that there is much to say about it. But what are our weak points? When we propose ourselves a result without, we don't look at the basis. So I want something, but I don't see the correlation between what I have and what I am and what I have. So we set ourselves a goal that is incoherent with the basis. At the end, is a way also to not do anything, because we end up victimizing ourselves. See, it's not possible, it's pointless that I do anything. I would like to cook lasagna, but I don't have the pasta, I don't have the flour, I don't have the egg. How can I do it? I can't. So I can't cook anything because I can't make lasagna. So when we set ourselves a goal that is incoherent with the resources, it's a way to be lazy. It's the 4th type of laziness in Tibetan. Okay, but I want to talk about laziness after. And when we set ourselves a goal that it's greater than resources that we have, it's actually a way to not act. Yes, I would really like to climb the mountain, but now there are no bases for that. I don't have this or I don't have that, so at the end I don't even leave. So it's always important to have at the basis this correlation, to look at what I am. Without getting into the dynamic, I would be better if I was this or if I had that. No, what do I have? On the basis of what I have, we allow ourselves to dream, to imagine. We try to see 1,000 possibilities. Where can we go? There is one thing that I do sometimes, a bit spontaneously actually. Sometimes I do it also a bit like jokingly, but sometimes, often it has worked. That is when we find ourselves in front of a problem, a situation, like from the most trivial things to the most complex things, and to propose like absurd solutions. And sometimes it appeared to me like to propose a solution that made no sense somehow. The other person didn't understand that it was a joke, and saying actually it's a good idea, and actually it was like doable. So sometimes to allow ourselves to dream, to imagine also to imagine what apparently seems impossible. It's important. Because what happens is that often we also go and limit our resources. For me, an example was the realization of this temple. When we started out, among the resources that we had at the basis, we had like a structure of concrete of one floor. We had a regulation plan that luckily after some years it was possible to change. We had like the strength of will, the human connections, the blessings and so on, but we didn't have money, for example. But it's a bit like, okay, it was possible to realize this temple because we believed in the impossible, and the impossible became possible. That is, the resources at the basis were not complete in the sense that we lacked some parts, at least apparently, because actually the connections, the intention, the karmic force, there was the basis for that. So otherwise we wouldn't be here now, but we weren't able to see them all together, but we believed. So sometimes it's important also to go a bit beyond that limit in which where we are and to dream even a bit more. One of the things that I do sometimes is to kind of dream at steps. For example, at the temple, the dream was divided in steps initially. Okay, first of all, we managed to make the project and have like, the permit. Then the second step is at least we make the exterior, the third part of construction, that if we didn't have money to complete everything, then water doesn't come in, so like the roof with the walls, the external part. Then we go further with finishing the interiors, and if we didn't have the resources, then we do one room at a time, one floor at a time to get there. So sometimes to have a goal, a high goal, but that doesn't have the pretense of when and how it has to be realized, but you believe that it's possible. Also that works because it's also there are long-term goals, but it's important to look well at the basis, to imagine what is the best that I can get with that, which is the result, and then we need to program. We need to make like a sort of planning, a schedule. Okay, to get there I need to do this, to do that I need to do that, and so on. And this is something that in the Buddhist tradition is very present. For example, at the basis we have our own psychophysical reality, so the fact that we also live in an interdependent reality that is impermanent, and this is what is there at the basis in us. As the result, we want to overcome our ignorance and selfishness and reach a state of balance and peace, where we are also constantly a positive interaction with the others with which we interact, the so-called state of Buddhahood. And among these two, it's divided in 5 steps, of which the fourth is divided in 9 parts that are called the five paths and the 10 bhumis. So there is a whole program, one step after the other, because what happens is that the part of the path is the longest, where you need to take one step after the other to get there. So even what seems quick, it's always gradual. It's given the example in ancient texts, like if a really fast arrow goes through 1,000 petals of a flower, one put next to the other, when the arrow goes through, it seems that it goes right through all of them, but no, it's always one layer after the other. So even what seems fast is always gradual. So you need to take one step after the other, and this is important. So the first three parts are the basis, the path, and the result, and this is about everything that we want to do. I want to have a healthier body. I don't want to feel this difficulty anymore, or I want to have a good relationship with that person. Anything that we want, what do we have at the basis, where do we want to get, and then now what do we need to do in the middle. In the process of the middle there are the other three parts, 3 points. Also because now I don't want to get very long on this, but okay, we have the basis, the path, and the result. Clear, right? Okay, then secondly, we have the part of the training, the part of the path is made also of 3 parts, which are called tawa or ta, chöpa or chö, and gompa or gom, tacho gom sum. Tawa means vision, chöpa means conduct, gompa means familiarization, sum 3. So we have the vision, conduct, and familiarization, often translated as meditation, but it would be more correct familiarization. Let's make an example that is a bit more mundane to understand it. I want to have a certain kind of relationship with you, a relationship that is based on friendship and trust, transparency, love, respect. At the basis now, okay, we know each other. There is a certain level of affection and friendship, but we're not there anymore. We still have some rancor. We don't trust each other completely. I'm talking from my side, but I want to get there. The basis is there. The result is clear. Okay, I need to train myself in that direction, and to do so, the first part is the vision. The vision is about the vision of the world that we have. It's about, for example, in this case, it's also on a conceptual level, what is best for me? Why do I want to have a relationship that is based on trust, friendship, respect? Why is this better? Why it's not good to be arrogant and to be selfish, to have clarity of all of this. So the part of the vision is where we somehow have clarity on the goal or where we want to get to, of what are the steps that we need to take in the middle of that and why of this. This is the part of the vision. In general, in the broader vision, the vision is made out of having clarity of who I am, about how are the phenomena and the law of karma, interdependence, and the preciousness of this life, and so on. The certainty of death. All of this is about the part of the vision. The vision, in other words, is how do we look at reality, but it remains on a conceptual level. Then, after that, it goes beyond conceptual, but at the beginning is a conceptual process. So, if I have to learn something, like before we talked about cooking, so the first level of the vision is where I learn about all the principles, the concepts that are necessary to cook well. I am not a good cook, so I am not a good example on this, but we see, okay, what kind of food needs to go with what kind of food, what do we need to avoid and why. We can go there and study and understand well and to have a clear vision. I want to have a good relationship with you. Why? How? What do we mean by a good relationship? What are the positive aspects of this and the negative aspects? And we have a vision. Once we have a vision, we go to the second part, that is the conduct. The conduct means I need to act accordingly with the vision. Because in our process is a process of familiarization, of transformation. Our goal is to get to that result, and that it's sustainable. It's like a spontaneous thing. It's not that it's something forced and then it ends. So if I want to have a good relationship, I want to have that relationship to be sustainable. So it's not enough to conceptually have things clear, but in the daily life I need to act accordingly. So I need to be respectful, I need to try to allow myself to see the other and to not react with aggressiveness, and to have gratitude, to be generous, and so on. I need to live with coherence with what is the result that I want to obtain. I will not always manage, but I try at my best to live with coherence with what I want to reach. So it's not anymore a conceptual part, it's a practical part where I take that concept and I bring it in the daily life, in my way of acting, by all means. But there will be some points that where I will still will not manage. So I know that, okay, my goal is to always have a relationship that is always based on friendship and trust, to not ever have rancor. But when I am in that situation, I can't help to not react badly. So I still have some limits. I still haven't got through the result. And it's where we get to the third point, that it's the part of familiarization or meditation. The part of familiarization and meditation means I induce myself to an imagination level, to that situation, and on a mental level, like I am imagining, and I imagine to react in the ideal way. So I imagine that situation where the other person, for example, is aggressive, where I usually react with aggressiveness. I know that this is not good for me, this is not what I want, but I really can't help. So what do? First of all, I reflect on the importance of not reacting that way and so on. I imagine that difficult situation, and in my imagination, I react in a positive way. And the more I am able to imagine a coherent reaction, positive reaction, the easier it will be to react in that way when the actual situation will happen. The example that I've made many times is about diet. So first of all I have the concept of the diet, then I need to respect it, and then there are the situations where I can't. So I imagine the situation, a difficult situation, and to try to react positively in my imagination to prepare myself for the day that it will happen. Inside of the part of the familiarization, there are many techniques. There is the technique of the repetition, so I go and repeat myself many times what I want to do, where I have to go. For example, I can take some vows and some commitments. I can have some external objects that help me to remember that path that I'm doing, to maintain myself in that. All of these are the techniques. So here there is also the singing, the dancing, the meditation, an infinity of things that can be there. Tools that help us to get to that result that we want to obtain, where we are not yet. So we have the vision, the conduct, and the techniques of familiarization. One of our problems usually is that we remain on the vision and we believe that it's enough. Okay, I have understood. Well, good. Then we need to go further. On all the 3 points, the vision, conduct, and techniques of familiarization, they are divided in other 3 points, which are called in Tibetan to samgomsum. To listen, sam comprehend, and familiarize or meditate. I prefer to translate it with familiarization, familiarize. What does this mean? The first level on anything, on the vision, the conduct, and the techniques of familiarization is I need to acquire information. So I go and listen to someone, I read something, I acquire information. So let's talk, for example, okay, if we stick to the example of before, I want to have a good relationship with that person, and the part of vision, I want to acquire information on that. Okay, why is good to have respect, why arrogance is bad. I listen, acquire information. Once I have acquired the information, I haven't completed that part of vision. After that, I need to comprehend what I have understood. The level of comprehension needs an analytical process of repetition, of a sort of debate. We need to ask ourselves questions, to have doubts, to find answers, and we conclude the process of comprehension when that thing is not anymore something that someone has told us, but it's a certainty that we have ourselves. It's not because I want to be a good Buddhist or because they have told me that I should here and there. No, I am convinced that that thing is right in that way. Once there is the comprehension, we still haven't concluded. We need the familiarization, because even when we comprehend something, after a while we forget. So the example is I go to cook. First of all, someone teaches me how to make lasagna. I go there, I learn all the things. After that I have understood how lasagna is done, then I need to understand well the various steps, have the certainty, okay, why this ingredient with the other, why there is a certain order, until I have a total clarity. And once I have had these two, I need to cook the lasagna, many times at least, until it becomes something that is part of me. I need to put it in practice. I need to live it. It's a bit like playing an instrument. First you have the theory on the level of listening, of comprehension. Then there is the practice. One needs to play, until at a certain point the instrument becomes an extension of one's own body. And that is why, okay, first you learn, then you train yourself to allow yourselves to forget. It's like driving also. At the beginning you need to think, okay, I need to do this and that, repeat and repeat. After a while the theory becomes incorporated, one does it without thinking, but all the theory, the practice, becomes embodied. That is when one has realized it. So after I've understood and I go to the part of comprehension, then I need to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat until it becomes spontaneous. And the repetition is not conceptual, it's to use it, to put it in practice, so that gradually it becomes natural in us. So we have the basis, the path and the result. Once we have clear this, but also on these three we need to listen, comprehend and familiarize. If we ask ourselves today, what is my basis? What are the resources that I have now, today? Do we have a clear, deep, intuitive answer, or do we need to think about it? I think that we need to think about it. It's not so obvious. And it's where we have the part of listening, comprehension and familiarization until it's clear about what I have at the basis. And the same, it's true also for the path, the various steps of the path and the result. And this shows us that in order to realize anything, we need a gradual path. And one of the most important things is to have a clear direction. Because if there isn't a clear direction, then we won't be able to take real steps, because life is made out of distractions also. Now I'm here, tomorrow I'm there. When I have a clear direction and I'm able to maintain it, if I don't have a clear direction, then I will be overtaken one day by one thing and the other day by another thing, and I remain in that uncertain situation. Today it seems very clear I have to do it like this, I want that thing. Tomorrow is already a bit more difficult, I don't want it anymore. And that is why it's really, really important, first of all, the direction. And that question, what do I want? And here, also here, we need to listen, comprehend, and familiarize. It's not something that comes from one day to the other. And all of this is based on one characteristic of our being, that is that we are made of habits. And the habits change and are created with repetition. So anything from cooking to drawing. I have a friend that draws very well. I am really, really bad at drawing. Like, for example, if someone asks me to draw a person, I still do the kind of drawings with the ball for the head and the sticks for the arms. I'm really not able to draw. Usually any kid with like 4 or 6 old draws better than me. And so this friend says, okay, why there are some adults that cannot draw? Because at a certain point they stopped. If one continues to draw, then bit by bit it gets better. Then there are those that are better predisposition or less, like me. For example, I like more technical drawings, for example, like drawing mandala. I learned to do that. And when I had to learn to draw some symbols like the Vajra, then I stayed there, I repeated it, I learned it. And that I can do it. But why? Because I've repeated it, I learned it. And the same is true for anything. When one says, no, I cannot cook. Why? Because you never cook. You stay there, maybe the first day will be bad, also maybe the 5th day will be bad, but then after the 3rd week, then something will come out. After a year, you will see that it will be easy, you know. When I lived in India, and at a certain point I didn't have anyone cooking for me anymore. At the beginning, I had some people helping. Then for a period of 1.5 years, I cooked for myself. At the beginning, I needed like 1 hour, and then after a while, with 15 minutes, I was cooking, and I was cooking with a text that I had to memorize. I was cooking all day the same thing, every day the same thing, which was rice with dal, lentils, and I had my method with which 15 minutes everything was ready. I liked it, and that's it. But it's a matter of practice. The thing that is very important for us to recognize is that our being transforms according to what we do. But not just on our skills level. Like cooking or drawing, driving. This also happens on the physical and also on emotional level, mental level. The more I think in a certain way, the more it will come to me to think in that way. And the bad thing about this is that this process of getting used to, it's not just about the things that are good for us, but also about the harmful things. So we have many habits that where we get into that dynamic, and then after a while we get used to that, even if it's not good for us. For me, one of the most clear examples of this, it's our way of eating. We start to eat in a certain way, and then after a while we realize we can't do without that. We have a hard time, even if it's not good for us to eat in that way. We have a habit to sleep in a certain way, to talk in a certain way, habit for everything. We are made of habits. And even our way of thinking, on a more deeper level, also our selfishness is a habit. Our ignorance is a habit. A really deep habit, but they are habits. How do we change a habit? Two ways. Making the habit weaker, so trying to not repeat it, and generating an opposite habit. This is it. But to do that, the first thing that we need to have is to have clarity of where I want to get to, what I want to be. Yesterday we talked about this, I don't want to repeat it so much anymore, but the point is that if we don't repeat to ourselves, then after a while we forget. It's a bit like saying, okay, in the relationship with other people, as long as everything is fine, I really love you, I want to be with you, always want it to be like that. The day that it goes badly, then we forget about that. What I want is to be away from you. But what is the goal that I have? What kind of relationship do I want to have? And so on. And so, in this,
C'è un altro punto, ma non voglio affrontarlo adesso. In questo, il punto che volevo solo concludere adesso.
the point that I wanted to conclude now is that our path is gradual, and we need to remember this. It's made out of steps. It's never, okay, I'm here, and then at a certain point I've already arrived there. And one of the difficulties that I see in the times where we live and the cultural context and so on, in which we are, is that we have this strange idea that once I have understood, already a great part of it is done. I remember the first time that I've seen this was when I was a kid, like 7, 8 years old, not more than that. My dad comes home one day, was all happy, and says, now I've understood. I've understood the causes of suffering and the unlimited desire, the anger, the ignorance. Now I've understood well. Then I remember that 5 minutes passed and he was there shouting and he was like very angry about something. And I remembered that I was looking at him and I was a bit laughing. Yes, you have understood well. Let's see. What happens is that to understand is very important, but it's a very, very, very small part of the path. But we are used to living things on a very mental level. And we also have the habit, somehow, of getting bored. We also want to have some news. So, for example, when there is the part of the teachings, sometimes I hear like, but I've already heard this. Good. That's why we listen to it again. Have you understood it? Yeah, medium. If you realized it, no. Okay, then we repeat it. But I'm getting bored. Yes, you get bored. But let's repeat. Because our goal is not to understand, it's to realize. And in order to realize, we need to go in the process of listening and listening again, to comprehend, to remember ourselves, to then gradually be able to familiarize ourselves more and more. But we have this problem with boredom. I don't know, have you ever been afraid of getting bored? Of that situation where, there is boredom there. I see that often these days, like this anxiety of not wanting to get bored. But what happens is that this also comes from the fact that when there is something that is new, that generates pleasure, generates dopamine, and we live often on a level that is superficial, where we're looking for that. And when what we want is the news, like something new. Also on the philosophical, spiritual path, it becomes entertainment. Sorry if I put it in these terms, like it's just spiritual, philosophical entertainment. Because what I want is to entertain myself, to learn something new, to keep my mind happy that I've seen something new, and when that concept has finished, then we go to the next. I don't know if this is clear. But there is a huge difference between the spiritual entertainment and a spiritual practice. The word itself, practice, leads to repetition, to familiarize oneself. And for this there is a moment, okay, when there is something new and that is fine. But another aspect that it's very beautiful, it's that also that thing that seems always the same, actually it's not. Also, when we repeat the same concepts, let's make, for example, let's talk about the Four Noble Truths. You know, my experience is that as time passes, the more I'm able to see them in a deeper way, with more clarity, even if apparently it's the same things. So it's a process of repetition to then gradually comprehend, to then familiarize. And going back to the previous point, one of the most important steps is that we need to allow ourselves to dream. And here I invite you to two levels of dreaming. One, we can call it like a mundane level, and another a spiritual level, because the fact is that we live with this body, we are attached to this life, we have some goals that are about this life, don't we? Yes. No, I don't have any goal about this life. Either it's because you're very depressed, or it's because maybe you're or maybe because you've really realized something beyond, but usually it's because you're mocking yourself. So on the mundane level, what is about this life, the moment where we are now, one way to set the dream is to want to live a healthy life, a sane life, physically healthy, mentally healthy, balanced, from the point of view of relationships that are healthy, a healthy environment, an economical situation that is healthy, to set goals like this. So what does it mean, like something that is healthy, sane, something that is balanced, that doesn't create conflict and things like that, but it sustains a state of well-being. And if we look at ourselves now, the body that we have now as a basis, does it allow us to have like a healthy body or not? What is a healthy body? I have heard that a healthy body is a body that is able to do four things easily. It sleeps well, so it wakes up well also. It eats well, feels like eating also in the right moment and the things that are good. Is able to digest well. The original term is actually to shit well, sorry to say it. It's important. And the fourth is to move well, so it has energy, you don't feel very tired during the day, and so on. So, to sleep, to eat, digest, and move. The body is available for what we want. I want to walk, I want to do this, I need to sit. It's as if the body was not going against what we want, because there are times where we feel like the body going against, like for example I want to sit and meditate and the body says no, please, not now, I'm so tired, I can't. There are times where one wants to sleep but you feel like staying awake and it's as if the body didn't want. Then there's a time that you have to get up and the body wants to sleep and all of these things. So a healthy body requires this kind of characteristics. And it's interesting to see that also in our body. For example, the great majority of the functions of the body to maintain itself healthy are autonomous functions. I don't know, does someone here has to tell the liver what does it have to do? Ah, no, you have to purify the blood, I'm eating this, please remember to be careful. And the quantity of functions that our body accomplishes, the functions that it accomplishes in every moment is enormous. And then we have that small percentage of things that that we have to choose with awareness that are about the body. That may be about all the functions of the body is like at 0.1%. We're able to spoil everything else with that tiny fraction of freedom that we have. So the way that we breathe, the way that we eat, the way that we sleep, and so on. In other words, also the way with which we consume the objects of our five senses. Because it's not just about what I eat, it's also about what I see and the way that I physically place myself and even how much I chew. These are all things that are connected. So, without getting too long on it, is it possible to have a healthy body? I absolutely believe so. We have the basis for a healthy body, yes. Also because it's crazy to see how doing the right things, the body adapts to that very quickly. Majority of us, there is the basis, and even when there is the basis for a totally healthy body, you can improve a lot still. Also to say the body totally healthy body according to Tibetan medicine is not really completely possible as long as there is attachment, desire, aversion, anger and ignorance. You can't have total balance. But we can improve a lot. And here we get into the part of the path. So what do I need to do in order to have a healthy body? I don't know. I've made the example of my grandpa, which is a person that is close to me. He died with almost 101 years old, and he was very well. But he spent his whole life eating well without getting angry. He had an attitude where every day he was doing exercise, and he took care of his health. So if I want to reach and that state of having a healthy body as I go on with life, what do I need to do today? And this is already an important goal. And the very interesting thing is that when we begin to take the responsibility for our goals, once we have done one, the others gradually become easier. Because, for example, to maintain physical health is not easy. It's not easy to change the habit of how we breathe, to change the way the way we eat. I say to change because unfortunately in the time where we live, we have, I'm generalizing, but we as a society, we have a way of eating, breathing, and sleeping that it's unhealthy. But it's a habit. So when we do the effort to get out of this habit and we start with more material things, simpler things, like for example eating or the way we breathe, the way we sleep, the way we acquire information, so also how we use our sight, screen yes, screen no. We give ourselves some rules. We try to maintain a healthy conduct on this. We are training ourselves on a very, very important thing that is called morality. Morality is not the part of ethic. Morality is meant as our capacity of doing what is good for us and to abandon what is bad for us. And when I'm able to do that with simpler things, I'm also training myself in that. When I say, yes, I like to eat that, but it's not good for me, then I don't eat it. Other than not eating that and decreasing that habit, I'm also training myself in my capacity of doing what is good for me and not what I like. Is this clear? So, we start out with setting ourselves a dream, a goal that is a healthy life. Instead of this, I invite you also to write, to put to kind of draw your goal. Okay, physically healthy, what do I expect out of a healthy body? And I allow myself to dream myself with that healthy body, to imagine myself in that state. And the interesting thing that I've seen in many cases is that very often people that obtain a very healthy body is not because they have started from a very healthy basis. There are many people that, because of a certain illness, of a very difficult situation, they have put a lot of effort and eventually they have obtained a state of health that is very good. For me, the example that comes to my mind when I think about this, for me, was Joseph Pilates. This person, this man that created the system that today is very well known about Pilates. When he was a kid, he was rachitic, he was always feverish, always weak. His father had a gym, and he wanted to be an athlete. And every day he was going to the gym of the father as he was a kid, and everyone would just leave him do his exercise, saying, okay, but he will never manage to, because he was always weak and feverish. But he was staying in the gym more hours than the others. He was putting a lot of effort in that. And eventually, he managed to not only be a good athlete, but also to heal himself and finding some techniques. And he died as a very old man with a very healthy body. So this is not because he had a strong body as a basis, but because he had a healthy lifestyle. And so for this, it's important for us to remember that the healthy body, it's not acquired eating sometimes something healthy. It's acquired in our daily life with our lifestyle. And it's here where we have the first difficulty, that is going against the habits. But let's try to set ourselves a physical goal, a healthy body. Then we have a healthy mind. A healthy life, for me, there are many characteristics of this. For example, it's a mental state, by mental I also mean emotional, of one that is at peace with the past, is at peace with the future. So there isn't anxiety about the future, there isn't rancor about the past, there is harmony with the present, there is awareness, there is trust. One is not attached to how things should be, but as a clear image of where he wants to get to, adapting with the reality that is there. It's a mind that is in harmony with the natural process of change of things because of the impermanence. A state of a healthy mind is not left badly when something beautiful ends, but it's happy that it was there. A healthy mind doesn't go in opposition with the other, but is able to see the other and to react with, to act with love and compassion. A healthy mind is in harmony, in peace, at peace. Is that a high goal? Yes. Possible? Yes. Easy? No. Possible? Yes. Some healthy relationships. What do we mean by that? Do we live in a healthy environment? What do we mean by that? Also, healthy economical situation. And here we can get in each one of these, getting into the minimum details, and we improve them a bit by bit. But if we allow ourselves to dream, first of all, on a mundane level, a healthy life, we allow ourselves really to dream that that allows us to expand the dream to go beyond this life, and to allow ourselves to dream. I want to be able to reach a state of peace that transcends this life, for example. And it's where in Buddhism we have the path of the Bodhisattva, we have the goal of becoming a Buddha, but we start out with the goal of having a healthy life. One of the fundamental things about this is the awareness that that path is made out of very, very, very small steps, and not out of great moments that then make all the difference. And so, once we have this, at that point we need to face daily life along the process of hearing, comprehending, and familiarizing. And with this long introduction, we get into the verse of today. Also, now we have these two books, both are fine. Here there is only the text of the jewel garland of the Bodhisattva, and here you have the collection of more texts, including also this one. So, yesterday we have gone through the sentence of Atisha. That's it.
Quindi abbandona ogni dubbio e dedica con entusiasmo abbandona la pigrizia.
Abandon entire lethargy, dullness, and laziness, and exert yourself constantly with enthusiasm.
La traduzione qua è uguale o leggermente diversa. Abbandona completamente l'apatia, l'ottusità e la pigrizia e impegnati costantemente con entusiasmo. Ni muk lello rappanshin. Ni vuol dire sonno.
Ni means the sleep, to sleep. Muk means the state of mental fogginess. You're awake, but you're a bit like that. You don't really understand things. There is not inner clarity. And then there is laziness. This doesn't mean to abandon sleeping. That doesn't mean that you don't have to sleep. To sleep is extremely important. To sleep well. What we have to abandon in this case is the attachment to sleep. Because as like other things, okay, eating is fundamental, but eating too much and badly is harmful, is unhealthy. The same way, to sleep is very important, but to sleep too little or too much, it's not good. So one of the things that may seem strange, but it's not given for granted, is that we know how to sleep well. For example, in order to have a good sleep, it's not about just when we sleep. It's about the moment before going to sleep, the moment when we will eat the information that I will acquire if I'm in front of a screen, in the last half an hour before going to sleep. It's about the time where I go to sleep. It's about whether I push myself awake until I can't stand it anymore, or if I allow myself to fall asleep before in a state of relaxation. So, sleeping is not just about the fact of saying I sleep well, sleep badly. It's not just that. The attachment to sleep, it's because there is a part where is the pleasure of sleeping, mainly in the morning, and in the Eastern culture, Indian, Tibetan, but also Western culture until a while ago, one that sleeps until late in the morning is like seen in a good way or not. I remember, okay, when I was a kid, like to wake up in the early in the morning was like a torture, and I had like my Tuesday was my free day when I was studying in India, and I set my alarm at 7. Usually I would wake up at 5, so I was like, I can sleep a bit more. Then at a certain point I hear knocking at the door, and they say, "Wake up! It's 11." I get up with a sort of shame. All of a sudden, I open the door, and in front I had like a sort of big living room, and it was like the clock, and it said 6. My master would wake up every day at 3, and would have breakfast at 6, and so for him it was like the right time. And a bit jokingly, he liked to make jokes, So that day he made a joke. Okay, now I'm awake, let's go. But this concept of sleeping in the late in the morning is not well seen, also because the healthiest thing is to respect what happens outside. So, according to the Buddhist texts, the healthiest way would be to wake up a bit before dawn and to go to sleep a bit after the sunset. This would be the healthiest thing. So here Atisha says abandon attachment to sleep. Attachment to sleep is what happens usually after one uh, has woke up naturally and then stays there to sleep a bit, and the greater attachment to sleep we have, the more we create like an unhealthy cycle of sleep, because then you get up there you're tired and so on. So let's take care of sleeping well. Then, in order to abandon unhealthy sleeping and the attachment to it, one needs to sleep well. To abandon this mental fogginess, it requires many factors, among which also to eat well. Because what happens is that when the liver is not well, when we have digestive problems and so on, the mind is less awake. There is a sort of inner tiredness, a sort of fogginess. So it's important, what Atisha is saying here is that to do whatever you want, you need to set the right resources for yourselves, and among this there is like to sleep well, and to have a clear mind. And in the process of having a clear mind, there is also the fact of decreasing the distractions, decreasing the objects that occupy a mental space. And in my personal case, one of the things that I see that occupies a lot of inner space is music, is songs. I really listen to very little music, because a weak point that I have is that the majority of songs that I hear for like 30 seconds, then for 3 days I have them there. There are some songs that even the name alone is dangerous. Then a while ago I went to listen to it on purpose to see if I could go beyond this thing with Baby Shark. I managed to a bit, it improved. But what happens is that one needs to protect himself in some way to have more mental clarity. And one of the ways to have more mental clarity is to decrease the objects of distraction or of sensory stimulation that occupy a mental space. So we need to create more mental space, or more inner space, more silence, to allow ourselves to have more clarity. And the last point that we'll now touch quickly is to abandon laziness. And exert yourself constantly with enthusiasm. Actually, in Tibetan it's a bit different. Taktu means always, Chuntru means effort, Bepa means another kind of effort, which means to kind of put effort into something. So, commit yourself constantly in putting effort. So it means that effort doesn't come naturally. We need to commit ourselves to do that as an antidote to laziness. Then we will get more into details on how to do this, which is connected with everything that we have already seen. But there are 4 kinds of laziness that we need to abandon, because laziness is what really tricks us a lot, because we have clarity of where we want to go, we have clarity of the basis of the result, we have the steps of the path in front, and we get lost in laziness. The first laziness is the just really open, total laziness. I don't feel like it. Okay, first of all, okay, what is the definition of laziness? This I created myself, maybe it's wrong, but from my experience, laziness, it's an inner state that combines 2 factors. That is the certainty, the conceptual certainty of the importance of something, put together with the lack of will for the same. Yes, I know that I should meditate, but I don't really feel like it. This is laziness. The first type of laziness, I don't feel like it, I'm sincere. It's like the laziness with no shame, I'm just lazy. Second kind of laziness is to procrastinate. Yes, I know that it's important to meditate, but I will do it after. Tomorrow I will do it better. After, later, I will do it. So, to postpone, this is a certain kind of laziness. The third kind of laziness is to say, no, yes, I know I have to do it, but now I can't, because I have to do something else. And in the second type, one certain just simply postpones. I will do it after. It's be more sincere. And the third kind of laziness, one, it's not that it says, it's not that I will do it after. I can't do it now, So one does something pointless to not do something useful. So stays there to do something that actually don't need to do. You can really do without it, because actually you don't want to do the other thing. And then we have the fourth kind of laziness, that is the worst. That it's the laziness of diminishing oneself. Yes, I would really like to meditate, it would really be beautiful, but I can't, I'm not able to. So we put ourselves down, because actually we don't feel like it. But we victimize ourselves, telling ourselves that we are not able to, and actually what we don't want is to get out of our comfort zone. Okay, I'm not able to stay there, meditate 3 hours with one pointed concentration, but can I do 5 minutes of breathing meditation, and then to pause for 10 minutes and repeat again for 5 minutes? Can I do it or not? Yes, then we start. So it's important for us to abandon, in order to abandon laziness, first of all to see it, to be able to see it, to recognize it, to welcome it also somehow, to say, okay, you're there, you're part of me, I love you until a certain point, in the sense that I don't oppose myself to you, but I put my direction somewhere else. Because if I oppose myself, then it ends badly. The solution to laziness is not to oppose oneself to laziness, is to cultivate the desire towards something. because the laziness is the certainty of the importance of something together with the lack of wish. And so the antidote to laziness is to develop the wish, the desire. We don't need to oppose ourselves to laziness. Sometimes we oppose ourselves, look how lazy I am, and we put it like on a negative side, but it doesn't work. Laziness speaks louder at the end of the day. Sometimes it seems that we can manage to, but actually we don't. We create one excuse after the other. But the real solution is to cultivate the wish for that thing. Then I need to eat well. Okay. I don't have to eat this, I need to eat that other thing, I need to breathe in a way that it's more aware. The more I am able to train myself in getting to know the pros of one thing and the cons of the other thing, through the process of through hearing and comprehension, the more I will gradually be able to repeat that thing and to have more desire, wish, and to allow myself to dream. How beautiful would it be if I could always breathe like this? How beautiful would it be if I could eat in a healthy way and I have a healthy body, at least with the 4 basic characteristics? I think that all of you have had the experience of waking up in the morning naturally, with no clock, no alarm, with energy, with a lot of with no tiredness, with no like burden on the shoulders. That's nice, right? Imagine to always be able to wake up like that every day, or also to fall asleep, that it's not that one goes to sleep that that is exhausted, but as if just slowly fades into the sleeping and wakes up with energy. Yes, I want that. I allow myself to imagine. I want to wake up every day like that. So what do I have to do? I need to avoid certain kind of stimulation in the evening, and I need to eat in a certain way, and I do what I have to do for that. But the more I desire something, the more I'm able to put energy into that. And to put energy in that is the next part that Atisha says. Commit yourself, exert yourself constantly with enthusiasm. Because effort means to put effort into what is positive, but it's not easy. And we need to commit ourselves to that. So there are some things that we know that are good for us. It's not easy. Why? Because it's not a habit. We need to get out of our comfort zone, but we know that it's good for us, so we commit ourselves to it. And we commit ourselves to the effort. We commit ourselves in putting energy in what is good for us, but it's not easy, and it's a gradual process. So this text has a characteristic that is whatever sentence, passage of the book, we can spend a whole life reflecting about it and practice about it. So when it says here, abandon entirely lethargy, which is actually attachment to sleep, dullness, and laziness, and exert yourself constantly with enthusiasm. Here there is really a lot. But the fundamental point is that if we want, we can. And we have to take back the reins of our life in our hands. And here to conclude a bit, in a strong way, but the fundamental passage in all of this, it's an inner passage that is deep, that is necessary, where we also repeat this passage, is to stop to victimize oneself. Until I victimize myself, yes, I know it's true that I shouldn't eat this way, but look at the society where I live in. Yes, I know it's true that this and that, but I don't like that. Yes, I know, but look with the education that they have given me. Yes, but look at the other what is doing. As long as I victimize myself, I will not have the strength to act. So the first step is, okay, I am what I am as a result of everything that I've lived up to now, in the context where I have lived up to now. With what I am now, what do I want to do? And I take my responsibility in my hands. And gradually, we will have a more clear vision of what we have at the basis, and to have a more and more clear vision of the result that we want to obtain. And when we are not able to imagine the result, we try to imagine a more short-term result until we see that we are able to do something. The first goal is to have a goal, which is not very little. We conclude here. I invite you to take one of these two books. In the green one, there are also the other texts, which are very beautiful, very important, or there is also this, where there is only the jewel garland of the Bodhisattva. We will look at some parts of it during these days. It's also an easy text to read and understand.
Losan tempe drume sasumgi druwe munsel taktu ne gyurchi nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan delekshin ninsen taktu delekpe kuncho sumki chingi lob kuncho sumki ngodrubutsol kuncho sumki trashisho all'alba o al tramonto, di notte o durante il giorno, possano i tre gioielli concederci le loro benedizioni, possano aiutarci ad ottenere tutte le realizzazioni e cospargere il sentiero della nostra vita con molti segni di buon auspicio. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and spring all the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. Oma hunten balame sangye Rinpoche, kyo balame tamcho Rinpoche, trim balame gendo kyamne kuncho sumla chepa. Buon appetito e ci ritroviamo alle 3:30.
We will meet back at 3:30 to go to the woods.